Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That nagging feeling you have been carrying this week, the one whispering that something is off, that you have been missing something, that the ground beneath you is not as solid as it looks, do not silence it. That feeling brought you here. The enemy is working overtime today for one reason, and one reason only. Because what I am about to tell you was never supposed to reach you. It all shifts in the next few minutes. The confusion, the second guessing, the fog that has been sitting over your mind. But here is the part you need to hear clearly. It is not shifting because of luck. It is shifting because you stayed. Because something inside you refused to stop searching, even when every logical voice told you to let it go. Think back to that moment this week when you almost stopped, when you almost convinced yourself that what you were feeling was paranoia, that the unease in your chest was just anxiety, that you were overthinking it. You almost talked yourself out of the very instinct that was protecting you. You did not know it then, but that moment of hesitation was not weakness. That was discernment holding the line. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment, scheduled before the foundations of the earth, and you are standing exactly where you were always supposed to stand. Do not click away. Your future self is begging you to stay, because if you leave now, you leave before the deception gets named, and a deception you cannot name is a deception that keeps working. Stay until the very last second, because in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the exact blueprint of the lie that has been operating inside your life without your permission. I am going to walk you through the moment it was planted, the moment it took root, and the moment it started producing fruit you never authorized. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that pulls it out by the root and seals that ground shut forever. Do not scroll past this. The version of you that has been praying for clarity, this is the moment it arrives. If you leave now, you leave before the verdict. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. It has not just been quiet. It has been the kind of quiet that feels deliberate. Like someone turned the volume down on your life so you would stop trusting what you were hearing. Maybe you were lying in bed this week, staring at the ceiling, running through a conversation in your mind, and feeling something shift inside you, a small, cold recognition that something you believed was not actually true. Or maybe you were sitting alone and a memory surfaced, something from months ago, and suddenly it looked completely different than it did the first time. Like you were reading the same sentence again, but now you understood the language. You feel like you have been operating on instructions that were not yours, like someone handed you a map and you walked the whole route faithfully, only to arrive at a destination that was never your assignment. And in this disorientation, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. Listen to your thoughts. He is telling you that the fact you believed it this long means something is wrong with you. He is replaying the moments you defended what turned out to be false. That conversation where you spoke with certainty about something that was deceiving you. That relationship you protected. That decision you made with total confidence. The accuser is telling you that your discernment is broken. He is telling you that because you were deceived, you cannot trust yourself, and that the door to wisdom is now closed to you. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. James 1-5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." Listen to that promise, without reproach. That means God does not hand you wisdom while reminding you of how long it took you to ask for it. He does not give you clarity with a side of condemnation for the seasons you walked in confusion. He gives liberally, freely, without counting the cost of your delay against you. The enemy is trying to convince you that being deceived is proof of your deficiency, but that is the second layer of the same lie. The first lie deceived you. The second lie wants to disqualify you from the revelation that undoes it. You are not broken. You are waking up. The disorientation you feel is not the symptom of a ruined life. It is the feeling of false foundations being removed so the real ones can be laid. You think the unraveling is destruction, but let me reframe your reality right now. That is not collapse. That is construction. The heaviness pressing on your chest right now is not the weight of being lost. It is the weight of arriving. It is the pressure of a truth that has been trying to reach you finally breaking through the surface. You were not foolish for believing what you believed. You were faithful with the light you had. And now heaven is handing you more light, not as a reward for being perfect, but as a continuation of a story that was never about your flawlessness. It was always about your willingness to keep seeking, even when the path looked wrong. You did not ruin your destiny by being deceived. You are living out the part of the story where the deception gets exposed. And that part always comes right before the door opens. The lie wasn't planted yesterday. It was placed the moment you started becoming something. And here's what makes it so dangerous. It didn't come through someone who hated you. It came through someone you trusted, a voice close enough to feel like truth, a pattern familiar enough to feel like home. It whispered in the gentle cadence of a loved one's advice. It echoed in the well-intentioned corrections of a mentor. It settled like dust in the quiet rooms of our upbringing. This insidious infiltration, this subtle redefinition of our reality, is so profoundly deceptive because its source is not an obvious adversary. Instead, it's woven into the fabric of our most cherished relationships and familiar environments. This is the deception most people never uncover, because they're diligently scanning the horizon for the enemy at the gate, for overt opposition, for a clear and present danger. But the true negotiation, the spiritual contract that binds us to limitation, was often made at the dinner table, amidst the comfort of family, or within the structured walls of a classroom. It was forged in the deafening silence of a parent who, perhaps through their own unhealed wounds, never truly saw the unique spark within you. It was spoken in the dismissive words of a leader or teacher who, unable to comprehend your burgeoning gift, labeled it a problem, a deviation, something to be suppressed rather than celebrated. You didn't just passively absorb a lie. You actively, albeit unconsciously, built an entire fortress around yourself to shield from the visceral pain of its implications. And now, that meticulously constructed life, a masterpiece of survival born from the ashes of that perceived inadequacy, finds itself in direct opposition to the very breakthroughs, the very expansions, that God is so desperately trying to usher into your reality. It's like a ship built for navigating treacherous shoals, suddenly encountering the vast, open ocean, its hull groaning in resistance to the unfamiliar expanse. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. They aren't mere data points. They are divine sparks designed to ignite the dormant power within your soul. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, a resonance that felt like recognition, like a bell tolling in the chambers of your heart, you may be ready, truly ready, to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This isn't just a book, it's a sacred map, a divine revelation that meticulously unveils the 8 foundational patterns woven into the tapestry of your calling, your deepest sufferings, and ultimately, your glorious destiny. It's designed to illuminate the divine architecture behind your unique journey, and to ensure this wisdom becomes a living, breathing part of your being. It comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb its truths during your most sacred moments, during prayer, in times of rest, or in those quiet, contemplative pauses with God. Furthermore, for those of you who carry the weighty and beautiful assignment of speaking His truth into the world, you will also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook specifically crafted for those who are called and commissioned with a prophetic assignment. The pathway to this profound resource, this spiritual upgrade, is clearly marked. The link is in the first pinned comment, a direct invitation to step into greater alignment, but heed this carefully, for this extraordinary offer is available only for a limited time. Think about Gideon. Picture him in that moment of profound vulnerability. When the angel of the Lord, the very emissary of the Almighty, appeared before him, Gideon wasn't standing tall in a field. He was hiding. He was threshing wheat, a task of sustenance and survival, not in the open where the grain could be gathered, but at the bottom of a winepress. Imagine the scene. He's underground, concealed, attempting to extract value from the earth in absolute secrecy, desperately trying to salvage something, anything, from the clutches of the enemy who would surely seize it. He was deliberately making himself small, invisible, and in this subterranean refuge of fear, the angel of the Lord appears and pronounces, "The Lord is with you, mighty man of valor." Notice the declaration, mighty man of valor. It wasn't a description of what Gideon looked like in that moment. Hunched, fearful, hidden. It wasn't an acknowledgement of how he felt, small, insignificant, terrified. It was not a validation of the distorted self-image that fear had painstakingly sculpted and cemented over years of perceived failure. No, the angel of the Lord spoke directly to the unchangeable truth of Gideon's divine identity, to what God had already decreed and decided long before Gideon's circumstances took shape. But Gideon's immediate response wasn't one of awe-inspired worship or grateful surrender. It was an outburst of argument, a wrestling match with his reality. His first words were a question born of his confusion. If the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And that very question, that deeply ingrained confusion between circumstantial evidence and divine truth, is still the very query that keeps so many souls hidden in their own metaphorical winepresses today. They have tragically mistaken their temporary circumstances for their ultimate conclusion. They have interpreted the storms and hardships they have endured as irrefutable evidence that their initial hearing from God, their initial calling, was fundamentally flawed or even non-existent. But what if, just what if, the hardship was never intended as a judgment against your calling? What if it was always, from the very beginning, the crucible designed for your preparation? Because here's where this revelation dives even deeper, piercing through the layers of our doubt. The reason the adversary, the forces of opposition, dedicate so much energy and craft so many schemes to making you doubt your true identity isn't because your identity is inherently fragile or easily broken. It's precisely because your God-given identity is so extraordinarily dangerous to his dominion. Gifts, potential, and destiny under pressure have a profound choice. They either shatter under the immense weight, or they are sharpened to an unprecedented keenness. And those individuals who were always meant to carry something significant, something world-altering, are precisely the ones who will be pressed the hardest. This intense pressure is not a sign of God's absence or his displeasure. Quite the contrary. It is the hallmark of his meticulous design. He is the master architect, and the furnace, the fire of adversity, does not exist to destroy the chosen. Instead, it is the divinely appointed agent that systematically consumes and purges everything within the chosen that was never meant to survive the refining process. What emerges from that intense fire is not a damaged or broken vessel, but a being profoundly defined, sculpted by purpose, and imbued with an unshakable resilience. But here's the critical insight, the part that most people miss entirely, lost in the wreckage of their own experiences. You have, by all accounts, survived things that should have irrevocably ended you. You have navigated through storms that would have sunk lesser ships. And instead of interpreting these miraculous survivals as irrefutable divine evidence, instead of exclaiming, "Something divine must be protecting me, a higher power must be orchestrating events on my behalf," You have, in a profound act of self-diminishment, minimized those victories. You've rationalized them away, labeling them as mere luck, or casually dismissing them as, "It wasn't that serious." You have, in essence, talked yourself out of your own powerful testimony, your own divine narrative, because you harbored an underlying fear of what it would truly mean to believe, to accept that you were being actively kept, divinely preserved. Because if you truly embrace the truth that you are being kept, then you are compelled to accept the profound reality that you were chosen. And if you were chosen, then the undeniable imperative is to step fully into the magnificent purpose for which you were chosen. And that is the ultimate frontier of resistance. It's not the external enemy, the visible adversary. It is the internal refusal, the deep-seated reluctance within your own spirit to embrace the fullness of your divine design. And what is about to unfold, what is being illuminated in this very moment, is the layer that lies even beneath that internal resistance, the profound truth that most people spend their entire lives skillfully avoiding. Like a dangerous precipice they dare not approach. Stay with me, for this is where the real transformation begins. The crucial question you must now sit with, allowing it to penetrate the depths of your being, is this: what have you been mistakenly labeling as humility that is, in reality, a sophisticated form of hiding? Because there exists a subtle, yet pervasive version of staying small that masquerades as an admirable humility, a noble reluctance to appear prideful. There's a way people contract and shrink, a posture they adopt that they label as surrender, when in truth it is merely fear adorned in a pious, spiritual costume. True, authentic humility does not shrink away from a divine calling. It does not recoil from the immensity of God's purpose. True humility boldly declares, "I recognize my utter dependence on God. I am nothing apart from Him. Yet, I also understand that God has placed something profound within me, a divine deposit, and I commit to stewarding it with absolute faithfulness." This stance is not arrogance. It is profound, sacred obedience. But the adversary has masterfully convinced an entire generation of chosen souls that the safest course of action is to remain quiet, to stay small, to occupy the background, to become an inconspicuous observer, because in that perceived safety, one could not be openly criticized, one could not face public failure, and most importantly, the ancient wound, the tender spot of past hurts, could not be reopened. But God did not select you for the quietude of safety. He chose you for the transformative power of impact. This brings us to the genuine turning point, the pivot upon which your destiny hinges. And this shift is not about mustering more motivation, about generating some fleeting emotional high. It's not about declaring your intentions with a louder voice or attempting to believe harder with sheer force of will. The fundamental shift lies in discerning and altering what you are truly in agreement with. Because your life, in its trajectory, is not solely dictated by the fervent direction of your prayers. It is, with undeniable certainty, moving in the direction of your deepest agreements. And an agreement is not always a conscious, deliberate decision that you've meticulously documented. Sometimes, an agreement is an unconscious conclusion, a profound understanding that's solidified in the silent crucible of your most challenging moments. It might have been forged in the sterile quiet of a hospital room, or it might have crystallized in the echoing silence that followed a crushing rejection. It could have taken root during a prolonged season when your prayers seemed to vanish into an indifferent sky, when every plea met with an unnerving stillness. And in that profound silence, a subtle, insidious whisper may have taken hold. Perhaps you misunderstood. Perhaps this isn't truly your purpose after all. Perhaps God is speaking to someone else entirely. And if you tacitly agreed with that whisper, even in the smallest measure, you have, in essence, signed a spiritual contract in the deepest part of your being, a contract that, up until this very moment, no amount of prayer has been able to fully override, not because God lacks the power to dissolve it, but because His infinite wisdom knows that He is patiently waiting for times to actively and intentionally renounce it. Coming up next, we will explore the hidden pattern you've been mistaking for unwavering faithfulness, a pattern that has, in its deceptive guise, actually been keeping the door to your destiny firmly shut. Don't move, for this revelation is critical. Consider Moses at the spectacle of the burning bush. He stood before an undeniable, supernatural miracle, a manifestation of God's tangible presence. And yet, his initial response was not immediate obedience, but rather argument, a burning bush, the unmistakable voice of God, a crystal-clear commission. And his immediate retort was, "Please send someone else. Who am I?" That was not a display of newfound humility. That was the raw, unvarnished echo of an ancient wound. That was the cumulative weight of 40 years of rejection and exile in Egypt, a prolonged period that had relentlessly hammered into him the belief that the very dream he once dared to carry was far too costly, far too impossible. He had, in essence, buried the version of himself that once dared to believe he was destined for something significant, something world-changing. And when the Almighty God Himself showed up, poised to resurrect that buried potential, his deeply ingrained survival mechanism fought back with ferocious intensity. He didn't say no because he doubted the existence or power of God. He said no because he fundamentally doubted what God could accomplish times through him. And that crucial distinction is of paramount importance, because you might wholeheartedly believe that God is omnipotent, that He possesses all power, and yet still harbor a deep-seated disbelief that such power is accessible or applicable to your specific situation, to your unique pain, to your present season of life. And that very chasm, that vast distance between believing times in times God and believing times God for yourself, is precisely the fertile ground where delay takes root and flourishes. But here's the astonishing revelation, the aspect you likely never anticipated. The primary obstacle, the fundamental force that has been hindering your progress, is not the external enemy. It is not the lingering specter of your past mistakes or the cumulative weight of your history. It is not the individuals who betrayed your trust, the doors that slammed shut in your face, or the prayers that seemed to ascend to heaven unanswered. The singular element that is most profoundly blocking you is your unwavering loyalty to the specific version of yourself that your suffering meticulously constructed. Because that version, that carefully crafted persona, was instrumental in keeping you alive. That version was resourceful, constantly vigilant, fiercely guarded, and relentlessly self-sufficient. And crucially, it times worked. It was the engine that propelled you through unimaginable difficulties. And now, God is inviting you, gently but insistently, to release that deeply ingrained version of yourself. Not because it failed you, not because it was inadequate, but because, in the grand tapestry of your divine unfolding, you have irrevocably outgrown it. And there resides within you a deeply embedded resistance, an internal inertia that struggles to comprehend existence without the familiar weight of its armor. You have worn it for so long that it has become indistinguishable from your very skin. And the sacred invitation to lay it down now feels like an act of profound exposure, like stepping into a dangerous void. It feels like vulnerability. It feels like an unguendable danger. It feels like you are being asked to walk into the unknown without any form of protection. But what God is truly communicating is this: that armor served its purpose. It protected you for a crucial season. Now, however, it is actively limiting your capacity for the next, more expansive season. You cannot possibly receive a blessing intended for an open hand while your fist remains clenched in a defensive posture. You cannot step into an enlarged territory, a vastly expanded dominion, while you remain barricaded within the confines of the small, familiar room that offered perceived safety during the peak of the war. And here lies the ultimate layer, the profound truth that has the power to reframe your entire perspective. The delay you have been so deeply grieving, the extended season of waiting you have lamented, was not a delay at all. It was, in fact, the process of cultivating depth. Every single moment you spent in the hidden place, in the quiet crucible of your soul, was not a sign of God's forgetfulness. It was the divine sculptor meticulously, lovingly, forming you. The years spent wandering in the wilderness were not a punitive sentence. They were an intensive, divinely designed curriculum. And that curriculum was not crafted for the you that exists in this present moment, but for the evolved, strengthened you that will be entrusted with the monumental responsibilities and opportunities of what is coming next. Because what is approaching requires a version of you that has been rigorously tested and has refused to quit. It requires a version that was profoundly broken but refused to succumb to bitterness. It demands a version that was forgotten by the masses but remained intimately remembered by God. It calls for a version that walked through the fire and emerged, not scorched or tainted, but with the very scent of smoke vanished, yet the indelible testimony of the flame's transformative power vibrantly intact. You were not delayed for a meaningless reason. You were intentionally, purposefully delayed so that when you finally arrive, there would be no room for doubt whatsoever. Not in your own heart, not in the atmosphere around you, not in the spiritual realm. That this arrival was undeniably the work of God, not mere luck. That this unfolding was a clear calling, not a random coincidence. That this moment was divinely appointed, not accidental. Now, with unwavering intention, place your hand upon your heart. Feel its steady rhythm, the life force that courses through you. And, with a voice that resonates with newfound conviction, speak these liberating truths over yourself. I release every agreement I made in the dark places of my past. I renounce every conclusion I arrived at through the crucible of pain. I release the version of myself that I painstakingly constructed as a survival mechanism, a necessary shield for a trial I was never meant to remain in indefinitely. I step out of the shadows of hiding and boldly step into my true identity. Not the identity shaped by the sharp edges of rejection, not the identity formed by the chilling grip of fear, but the pristine, powerful identity that God declared and ordained for me long before the foundations of the world were laid. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not disqualified by my past experiences. I am actively being positioned for my purpose. And I hold an unshakable faith that what God began within me, He will most assuredly complete. From this sacred moment forward, I walk with hands outstretched, receptive, and open. I move with a heart fully open to divine leading, embracing the profound understanding that my season of delay was, in truth, the very process that cultivated my depth. And it is this very depth that has irrevocably made me ready. I receive the breakthrough that was always mine by divine inheritance. I embrace the assignment I have been carrying, not as a burden, but as a sacred trust. And I will no longer shrink from the magnificent greatness that God has embedded within me, instinctively attempting to protect it from those who could never comprehend or carry its weight. It was never for them to bear. It was always, unequivocally, for this moment, for this purpose, for this destiny. I am chosen, I am prepared, and I am gloriously ready. If this prayer resonated deeply within your spirit, if it struck a chord of truth that vibrated through your very being, then do not let this powerful moment pass without taking a tangible step forward. The link provided in the first pinned comment is not arbitrary. It is a deliberate gateway, a divinely placed signpost. This is not the conclusion of the message. It is, in the most profound sense, the commencement of your next, most extraordinary chapter. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time.